Hi all, it's Eddie from Weirdly Tropicals, coming to you today with the grow along. I'm going to spoil you today. I'm doing 4 different types here rather than the usual 3. Welcome back if you are a regular watcher, and if you're new to the channel, my name's Eddie. I run a plant business, a tropical plant growing business, nursery in Birmingham. I do garden tour videos, tips and tricks on how to keep everything alive. So if you're new to the channel, it's your first time watching, don't forget to click like and subscribe and follow our channel. Obviously, if you're a regular viewer growing along with us, obviously you know what to expect. I just want to say thanks and foremost for the last video. I had a lot of support for that one, and it was something I didn't really want to put out because the audio was terrible on it, and had a lot of nice comments on that video. So I do appreciate you having gone to the effort of probably about an hour, 2 hours worth of sewing stuff and all the rest of it to realise there was no audio, and it was absolutely soul destroying. And yeah, I don't like putting out anything other than what the best that I'm capable of doing. So it wasn't my finest hour. I've done a couple of audio checks this week, so it's should be absolutely fine, but we'll find out when I come to edit the videos. First and foremost, without any further waffle, Setaria, palmifolia. So that's palm grass, gorgeous. What I'm going to do with each one of these, I'm going to do them individually, so I can put all like little timestamps in the video. So if you're only interested in 1 or 2, you can skip to them if you wanted to. And then I'm going to talk about interesting facts per plant that I can find, where they're from, growing conditions as we're sowing. So at least we've got something to kind of waffle on about as we're going. I've got Pseudopanax laetus. Again, apologies if I kill the pronunciation of these. Pseudopanax arboreus. And then I've got 2 packs, because I want them everywhere, Persicaria, virginiana, is it virginiana, Variegata, something like that. There's far too many A's and N's in that last part of that for me to understand what that's trying to talk about. Right, so what we're going to do is, without further ado, I'm going to jump straight to Setaria palmifolia. We'll discuss that plant whilst we're sowing it in the best possible conditions. And at the end, I have got a germination update. I've checked one of the things because it didn't have a lid on it, and I could see there's germination in it, so I'm buzzing about that one. And then the other ones, I'll open the lids whilst I'm on this video, and then I'll find out if there's anything in there as we go in. Feel free as well, because it's part of the fun for me. Obviously you get to see my updates and whether or not things are growing or not, but I don't get to see any of yours. So if anything's growing from the grow along, if you're even growing along with me, or if you just like watching the videos, let me know in the comments if you actually bought any seed from the other company, and if you're actually doing any grow alongs, what you're growing and what's germinated. Feel free to just bombard it in the comments. Like I say, we're all here to help each other as well and kind of G each other along. And it's good for if you were in the comments as well, to see that maybe somebody else has only got 2 and that's what you've got as well. So yeah, without further ado, coming back to you with Setaria palmifolia. Right, so without further ado, we've got Setaria palmifolia. Really, really small seeds, if you can see those in there. The best advice for these ones, these are dead simple. They only need 15 degrees. That's it. So I'd struggle to find anywhere at this time of year that I wouldn't be able to kind of keep that temperature. It'd be very, very easy for us to do that. These, unlike my usual mix, I like to use the Coyodoni with the perlite and stuff like that. So if you've been following along, you'll know I use that mix all the time. These ones are different. The instructions for these online were saying to use a compost-based mix. So I'm going to use that today. So what I'm going to use is one of these quarter-size seed trays. I'm just going to put in there like some kind of loose mix compost. Nothing fancy for these. There'll be a bit of vermiculite and perlite in it, just because I'll put that in, but that is absolutely not necessary. So I'm just going to fill it up to about there. That's just because I've got that lying around. And because of the size of those seeds, we're just going to sow those thinly. So I'm just going to put it between my fingers and kind of rub them over the seed. What I'm also going to do, which is a top tip with these ones, is if I just go off camera a sec, get some water. I'm going to pre-wet the compost with this little ironing attachment I use all the time. So I'm going to quickly pour all that through so I can feel the weight difference. That's pouring out the bottom, which is perfect. Leave that on the side. The reason I do that is then when you sprinkle the seeds on, they're more likely to stick to where the moist compost anyway. But also then when I've got to water them afterwards, because I already stuck down, I'm going to put vermiculite over the top of them, and I'll show you what that is if you've not heard of it before. Is they're going to be more stuck. If you kind of put them on dry, then you water them all the seeds can like kind of congregate to like the lowest point or whatnot, so you end up with a massive clump in one area. So I do that. If you've got a different method, obviously feel free to use that one, but all we're looking for is 15 degrees on these. There is quite a lot of information. I have grown these before and I didn't have any problems with them, but there was a lot of sources online saying these can be slow to germinate. But I remember last time I did it, I didn't really have that issue. They also can require a cold snap before they germinate. So it could be, if you don't see any success from this, still keep them moist and all the rest of it. And it could be that it's next spring that they germinate. I don't think we're going to have that problem. I think these will be absolutely fine. So yeah, so I'm going to sprinkle these in there. As I said to you before, as you're doing this, I'll give you the interesting facts on these plants. So it's called Setaria palmifolia, aka palm grass, and you'll see when they start growing, they get quite nice, chunky, palm-looking like strips, which look like a Kentia palm. If you've ever seen those in like a lot of the DIY stores, will sell Kentia palms and parlor palms and stuff like that, and they're quite a chunky, nice-looking palm tree for indoor use. So they look similar to that one. These are tender; they're only to -5. So people say it's classed as hardy, but really in the UK, depending where you are, -5 wouldn't cut it. Like you would lose that plant. There is some information online from some reputable nurseries that say that they've had success leaving theirs outside for the last 2 winters, treating them a bit like a banana, like wrapping them and doing all the rest of it. But you know, it's up to you whether you want to grow these every year or try look at keeping them outside. The advice online again say semi-shade to full sun. When I put them in full sun, I thought I'd lost them. They just crisped up immediately, and they were grown in the greenhouse without the shade netting on, so it was far more bright in there than I thought, and I thought it'd be magnified because of the glass and all the rest of it. And I put them outside in like normal full sun, and they got absolutely toasted. And it took them about a month or so to recover, but I put them in semi-shade, and they were glorious. So I would edge more on the semi-shade from personal experience with these, and it may be that I didn't harden them off properly. Well, sounds like that's exactly what happened. But you know, I was quite confident that they'd been exposed to higher temperatures, higher sun rays, and all the rest of it. But maybe because of where the glass is, maybe dissipates the sun rays differently, and maybe there wasn't as much on the leaves. But I don't know. I would put them in semi-shade if it was me. A really interesting fact with these ones is in parts of like Papua New Guinea and Southeast Asia, the young shoots of these plants are eaten as like a leafy green, like a vegetable. It's known as pit. I've never eaten these. I don't plan on eating these. I'm growing them for the visuals on that, but that's what they do there, and that's where they're from Southeast Asia. So it gives you a bit of an idea for the kind of climate. And again, a lot of these, because of the size of them, would be like in the undergrowth over there in the tropical. So these are like humid. They like the soil to be wet. So these are not palm trees like when you go over in Spain and they're in like full sun, specimen plants on their own. These would be more like a kind of like a jungle condition where 6 foot in the jungle is nothing. Like weeds will grow higher than that in the jungle. They're competing with trees 100 foot tall, so these would be quite low down on that kind of sun scale, and I think that's why they do very well in the kind of semi-shade conditions, because that's what they'd be exposed to where they come from. I'll sow these now, so what I'm going to do is sprinkle these on top. I'll do that now because that's a bit boring for you to watch me doing that, and then I'll just show you the vermiculite in case you knew, and kind of how we kind of put them in the end. All right, and just to show you my hand there, that's vermiculite. So all I'm going to do now is I've sown those seeds. If you can see them, they're really tiny little seeds. I'm just going to give a thin covering. I don't want these completely like under inches worth of vermiculite. It's just a small amount. I'll dump the rest of that now. So just to show you, once that's done, I'll give it a little pat down as well. Nothing too brutal, but we want good contact between the seed, compost, and the vermiculite. So it looks quite tidy afterwards. Helps with like maybe things like fungus gnats, like little black flies that go around everywhere. And then all I'm going to do is, as I always do, is with this, is I just go up and down just to help settle all of the compost and make sure there's really good kind of moisture throughout that. Buzzing with that, it's popping out the bottom, so you can see there's good drainage in this mix. And that's a nice level mix there. So all we need to do now, doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, I've been caught out so many times with this in the past, is just pop your label on, especially when you're growing loads of things. If you're already growing Setaria palmifolia, then you don't need to bother because that's all you've got. But if you're like me, growing hundreds of things at the same time, doesn't matter how well you know these plants, they can quite often resemble other things. So we're going to write down what plant it is, Setaria palmifolia. I normally put how many seeds, but I mean, there was like, I'd say 20 seeds in that one. And then normally put the date on it just for information, just so I can see kind of how quickly these germinated. I'm going to write that now, and then we'll move on to the next plant. It wouldn't be one of my videos without me having to chase a wasp out of the greenhouse. The door was locked as well, which was really odd. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, so there's 5 minutes I'll never get back. The next plant is Pseudopanax laetus. I'll put some pictures if I can find some online that I won't get sued for using. But if not, feel free to give them a bit of a Google. You'll soon find some information on them. I have the seed packet here. Again, reasonable sized seed, a bit more hardy than the Setaria ones. With it being a grass, they're a little bit more kind of difficult to handle, I find. These are beautiful. So the deep green leaves and the midrib on the leaf, or what holds the leaflets together, whatever botanical name that you've got for that part. It's like a deep red, purpley, maroon colour. So you've got like this deep red colour holding on the green, dark green leaves, and they look really nice. 3 meters, they grow tall and got a spread of around about the same. They're from New Zealand. They take full sun or part shade, and they're hardy down to just -5, which, as I've said previously, is not really hardy where we come from. Might be in certain places in the world that might be classed as pretty cold, but certain places in the UK, it barely comes above that in some winters that we've had. So again, they would need some level of protection for these. But if you grow these as an annual, I'm sure they're fast growing anyway. Get what you can out of them for a year. And if you maybe grow them in a pot and stuff like that, and just keep pulling them in. But again, these ones, the information with these seeds were that they needed just 15 to 20 degrees, the same conditions as the Setaria, but can go up to 20 as well. But ideally, you would cold scarify these, or stratify, whatever the word's called. I mean, it basically just means leave them in the fridge for a month. I haven't got the luxury of time to do that with these kind of grow alongs, because by the time the discount code would have ended, these would just be coming out of the fridge. So I'm going to sow them anyway and see if that works. If they don't, I won't cry a river over the fact that I haven't followed their instructions. So just to give you the best information, if you were growing them from home, if you put half of the order, maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll put half the order. That's what I'll do. I'm going to put half of that in the fridge, and I'll test that. And the other half, I'm just going to sow. Like I say, I'm not going to cry if I lose a few pounds on a seed packet, especially when I'm growing something interesting. This is a sterile mix, so we're back to my normal mix, which is using Koya. If you don't know what that looks like, I bought these ones. I wasn't sent them. I bought these ones, and it came with like the happiest little coconut chap you've ever seen. I've never used this brand before, so I don't know what it's like, but I just thought I'd show you that one. I'm going to buy it again just for the character. Maybe I'm immature, I don't know, but the other ones are a bit more boring, so I thought there's nothing like having about 20 packs of those little happy little coconuts down there. So it's grown from coconut husk, hence the character on the front. So it's a nice sterile mix. It contains no nutrition whatsoever. So my normal mix is coconut husk, which is coconut coir, vermiculite on the top, and then I'm mixing perlite. And what that's useful for is these seeds, they hold enough energy within that seed to grow. They don't require seaweed feed at leaf 1, 2, 3, 4. They will naturally grow without somebody in the wild coming around with a watering can of seaweed feed. So you don't need a rich compost to get seeds started, because I've seen them get burnt and all the rest of it from having too much nutrients available. Also, the root systems very rarely run the way that they should do, because the food's available for them where they're sat, so they don't go looking for it. So the reason that I use the coconut husk is it holds nothing. There's no nutrition in it whatsoever, so the roots will run looking for where the food's at. After I get to set like 2, 3, 4 true sets of leaves, so when the actual proper leaves come out, not the cotyledons, I'll then start giving it a very diluted little feed, just because there's physically nothing in that mix. So in the wild, in the soil, there would be very available nutrients for those plants very early on. So I kind of mimic that one, but don't get caught out by not feeding them, because also you've got them in this container and you'll notice that the plants will start going yellow. So we'll use that to sow the seed, just because it's sterile and all the rest of it. But then when you're potting it up, you can hold the seedling with all the compost that it's got on it, all the coconut husk on it, and then backfill around it with compost just to give it a little bit more of availability from that. Or again, pot it up with more coconut husk if you wanted to, but then introduce a feed at that point. So lecture over about seeds and germination, all the rest of it. So I'm going to go back to a normal mix with these. These, because they're only small, you don't want to bury these. Most bulbs go by twice the amount to 3 times the amount. So if you did that with those, they're just going to be just underneath. I would imagine no further than a knuckle with that one. Because these are quite small, I think I'm just going to give them a light dusting of the coconut husk over the top of them. So just to cover them, and then put vermiculite over the top. And I'm not going to do anything more than that. 9 times out of 10, when you see the videos where it shows the time lapse, it will grow the seed on the side so you can see it. And quite often, well, in fact, in almost all cases, the seed, the root will come out first, start doing its thing before you see any top growth anyway. So it will need more underneath the soil, similar to the iceberg situation. It will need more underneath to do what it does before you see any green shoots on top. So I'm going to get the mix prepared and I'm going to come back to you. There we go. Just for the purpose of the video, I've made up some of that coconut husk, because you can see there's still some of the kind of nice strands and stuff in that. I'll level that out in a second. But just for those that don't know, you take a block of that, put it in any type of container. Warm water works better. It breaks the brick down quicker. And then it just expands and expands and expands. And you kind of get about 10 times, 20 times more than what you think you're going to get. But that's the coconut husk stuff on there. It's soaking wet at the moment. I prefer to use this once I've kind of mixed it. I like it to dry out a little bit and then use it. But I suppose for the sake of this video, I was only going to wet it in a second anyway to pour all the mix over, so it's senseless. So once that's giving it a little bit of a firm down, doesn't have to be perfect. As I said to you, I'm just going to literally take half of that mix out, and then I'll try the cold method as well. I'll put half of the seed in the fridge and put like a little reminder on my phone for 1 month's time. And then we'll see which one grows better. I'm going to put those in now and I'll come back to you once that's done. All right, so as you can see there, I've just firmed those in. I just like literally just pressed on all of the seeds. And then I'll show you what that looks like. Just a slight indentation for it. I'm going to cover that now, just so they're light. But if you're talking there, you're talking a couple of millimeters. The seeds are small, so I don't want to be putting them right down underneath, because I don't think they'll get back out. I mean, they might very well do, but that's just what I'm going to be doing. So it's almost like a surface sowing, but with a light depression on it. And then I'm going to get vermiculite just to cover it over and keep moisture all around the seed. After that, I'll come back to you with the next plant. Right, so on to the next one. This is Pseudopanax, so same genus, but this is arboreus. So seeds, as you can see there, around about the same size, but there's quite a few more, I think, in that seed packet. These are also known as 5-finger as well. These grow 3 to 6 meters in height, 2.5 meters to 5 meters in spread, so can get a quite decent size. Again, -5 seems to be the kind of hardiness for anything that's from New Zealand that I've grown so far. So these are the same. These are named for its distinct palmate leaves, which weirdly have typically between 5 and 7 leaflets on them. So although it's called 5-finger, they can actually have 7 on them. They have berries on them as well, which is good for anybody concerned with the wildlife, birds and all the rest of it. The interesting fact on here, I mean the pronunciation, I'm going to put it on screen because it's I'm bound to get it wrong. So as far as like the Maori people are concerned, they use this as a like for medicinal reasons, and they call I've got it written down like wow paku is what they call it over there. Apologies if anybody on the off chance is Maori and they're watching this video and thinking what's this fellow going on about. But I gave my best shot there. I'll put it on screen, the actual name on there. But yeah, they do use it for different medicinal purposes. I didn't research which particular ones, but I thought it's an interesting one because the last Pseudopanax apparently had very little, if any, medicinal use at all. So it shows how slight difference in like kind of like the genes for these plants can actually have quite drastic differences in actual like physical uses and things like that as well. I'm going to sow this to save you a bit of time. I'm going to put some information on there, or like a picture of what the plant looks like, etc. when I'm editing. But to save you some time, I'm going to do exactly the same mix with this one as well. So I'm literally just going to put the mix on top of the coir, and then I'm going to put vermiculite on, water it, and then come back to you with a label. And then we'll be on to the very last one, which is Persicaria. And I've got some really interesting information for the Persicaria, so stick around for that one. And then I'll get back to you once I've done the bit of a Blue Peter moment on these. All right, so I've done that one now. Just put this one into a little 9 centimetre because, again, these need cold scarification, the same as the other Pseudopanax. So I've written a little thing. I put 5 seeds in there. The 10th of May, and I put no cold on that one because I'm going to test to see if you do need cold. It could be that, depending on when you're sowing those seeds, that you need that. However, I don't know how these have been stored at Jungle Seeds. It could be that they've been stored outside and they've had a cold scarification anyway. Or it could be that they've got some kind of Mac Daddy system where it's all heated, climate controlled and all the rest of it, and therefore it hasn't. But it's always good to kind of test these things and just see if we can bend the rules a little bit and see what happens. So I've kept the vast majority of them. I'm going to put them in the fridge, and then I'll probably sow those separately, and I'll put the ones on there that I've had that cold scarification on it and just see which ones germinate better. So I've kept the vast majority of the seed in my pocket. And I'll do it the proper way, but just for the sake of these grow alongs, I've put those in the soil now. They're all labelled up and they're ready to go. So the very last one, I'm sowing 2 of these, Persicaria, virginiana, or is it virginiana, variegata, something like that. There you go. These ones got quite a lot of interesting information on these ones. Just want to rip the packet open. These ones are not from New Zealand. These are from the Eastern North America. Is what I found online. Very small seeds, just like with any Persicaria that I've had in the past. These are very similar to Painter's Palette, but they don't have the little V kind of shaped little chevron kind of pattern on it. Variegated as well, so they've got the white coloration on it, which I absolutely love. I'm all for variegated plants. These grow well, like low kind of cover from like 60 centimeters in height and 45 centimeters in spread. So a nice compact little plant. Most Persicaria that I've grown kind of run a little bit wild. I don't know if these are the same, but they're easy to take cuttings from and kind of get additional plants from anyway. But this is the first time for me growing these ones. They get crimson flowers from October, November. So again, good for the wildlife right into the end of the season, and also a little bit of seasonal interest as well. The variegated version of this is not found in the wild at all. This is just something that's been cultivated because they know people like myself like variegated plants. These are almost like they've been either lab grown or just cultivated that way, mixed with other plants to form that. So I just thought I'd mention the fact that these are not a wild species of plants. This is just human intervention messing around, but they look nice, and I like the variegated plants. That's why we're growing these. The really interesting fact with these ones is these have got jumping seeds, what they call ballistic seed dispersal, which sounds ridiculous. But if the plant is disturbed and it's ready to go, these things will just kind of explode off the plant and kind of get catapulted somewhere else. So I thought that's an interesting kind of thing, the fact that they've grown that way. Whether or not it's just so the whole seed thing doesn't get eaten, or whether it's just to spread naturally or whatnot, I don't know what the defense mechanism was designed for. But I thought it's quite an interesting thing, the fact that this thing, if you go near it, will kind of explode on you. I'm sure it's not as dramatic in real life as what it sounds with ballistic seed dispersal on it. It sounds quite aggressive. Again, because these are tiny little seeds, we're going to surface sow these ones exactly the same mix. I'm going to use that coir that I've already mixed up. I'm going to put in a little bit of perlite, not too much, and then I'm just going to cover them with vermiculite as well. I can't remember with all the waffle if I said that they grow well with like geraniums, hostas, ferns, and all the rest of it. So if I've said that already, apologies. But yeah, the kind of ground cover. I love mine. I've got Red Dragon and Purple Fantasy, and they come up really early, really hardy. These ones say fully hardy down to -10, -5. If they're anything like the other Persicaria, I don't think you're going to have a problem with these. So I just dump a little bit of like bark or something over them, but they've run rampant from right at the start of the season. They're one of the first things to pop back up. So without further waffle, I'm going to get these planted. What I will say is, as I'm kind of planting these, as maybe you're doing it at the same time, I genuinely appreciate everybody that's watching these videos, anybody that gives it the thumbs up. I did have a shout out for somebody to say, can I give you more warning? To kind of let you know when the video is coming to an end. So this is your warning. to say that we ain't got long left. I'm going to give you a little bit of waffle before I finish. But if you leave me right to the end, like an X Factor audition or something like The Voice, before you realise if you like it or not and spin your chair around, now's the time to hit that like button. If, like I imagine, like a lot of you, go, hang on, it's Eddie's video, I'm going to like that from the first second I get on the video, then I appreciate you as well. But like I say, do subscribe if this is something up your street. The video's not finished yet. I'm going to do the update on what we're growing, but I just thought it'd be a good time before, because sometimes I don't know what's coming out of my mouth. If not, pretty much exclusively never know what's coming out of my mouth next. So I could end the video at any second. But I'll do the update and see what's growing. We'll look through all the pots together on the previous episodes that we've done, 1, 2, and 3, and kind of see where those plants are. And as I said to you before, let's make it as interesting as we can. And share your successes. If you're failing with anything, share it. There's people in the group, I'm sure, are only on like 5 years of experience, I think, in total with like growing anything outside. And my business has been 3 years. So it's really 3 years from seeds. There'll be people in here that have forgotten more than I know. So feel free to put any best practice in the thing as well, because we're all trying to learn at the same time as well. Let me plant these up and then we'll do the germination, then I'll end the video. Right, so finally, that's the Persicaria sowed. I'll show you that now with the labels on it. Writ the date on it, just put the full pack in there, so I'm not going to sit there and individually count the seeds, but it was roughly around about 20. I'm going to take the lid off the propagator now, and let me show you inside. So this is inside the propagator. There's a couple of things in there that I've not done as part of the grow along, but the first thing that I can see is the tree dahlias. How many we got there? 3. Yep. 3 of those popping already. Happy with those. These were not part of it. They were Paulownia seeds that we're doing. What else have we got? Fatsia seeds. This one, what have we got in there? Again, we're not expecting these every single week, so it's fine. We've got nothing in that. That was Panax Rex. Can't see anything in that one yet. We've got Brugmansia. What else have we got in that one? They're the red lady. Nothing in that one. Yeah, nothing in the Brugmansia one yet. So I'll put the lid back on. Put the lid back on that one. Let's have a peep in there. Nothing in that one. And nothing in the other Brugmansia. So the only update then, basically, was the fact that the 3 tree dahlias have popped. They're all working absolutely fine. If you can remember back, the ricinus, they're doing absolutely fantastic, getting a couple of the proper leaves on them now. We've got the Masanga that I've shown you before, the Leucocasia, and the Alocasia mycorrhiza as well, doing fantastic over there as well. So that's the brief update for the grow along so far. Down here, we've got the Euphorbia marginata that we grew as well. So things are moving at this time of year. And then we've got another one of the ricinus plants now. I know these are poisonous, but toxic, but look, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so that's the update. So again, like I say, I'm going to update these all the time. So it's not going to be where every week I've got 10 things that are popping. I'm sure some of these are all going to pop at the same time. So there'll be other updates at the end where I think there'll be quite a few more than just one. As I said in the previous video, to get anything to germinate in a week is really good going. So I'm not expecting every single week to have something. It'd be nice if we do. So we can look day to day. We'd have something new. I've got the banana seeds as well, kind of still sweating away in their bags. I will have a little look through those, but I can't see anything green just yet in those. But again, some of these seeds can take a year. So we're talking about a week. You know, it's unsurprising that there's no germination in these, and yeah, I can't see anything in the other bag as well. So, like I said before, put anything in the comments that you like, anything that you think's missing from the video, any information or anything that you'd like, or anything else. And like I say, all the comments genuinely help push it to YouTube. When you're a small channel like mine, it's really hard to get out there. I know there's more people that would want to watch these videos, well, in my opinion, but that's slightly biased. But like when I was trying to start my plant business, I was Googling these things all the time, trying to find information, and I just couldn't find anybody that was doing any videos to try and show me all these different things like coir I'd never heard of, perlite, and all this, that jazz. So it just took me a lot longer to kind of get there than I think it needed to have done if I had somebody kind of show me the way. So let me know if you're doing it for like to do a bit of a plant hustle, kind of plant business, if you're doing it just for fun to fill out your garden as well. And like I said before, I appreciate everybody that's liked the video, shared it, and all the rest of it. So this is the final warning now. If you want to click like on the video, and like I say, please follow the channel as well if this is something that you're interested in. If not, but thanks for watching. Appreciate you.